So welcome. Just ask you to identify your panel so that we can have the right names associated for the transcript, and you can go ahead and make your presentation when you're ready. Thank you.
This one? Yeah, I got it. Okay, thank you. Good day, Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission. My name is Hyman Glustein. I'm a telecommunications advisor for the Cree Nation government. If I can just take a moment before the introductions. At the outset of the hearing, Mr. Chairman, you set a challenge for presenters, which was to demonstrate using evidence that the public interest and the specific situation of a region justify action by the CRTC. Today, we propose to explain why market forces have been and continue to be insufficient in our region. And we propose to offer a solution for our region, and we thank you for that opportunity. With me today, behind me, are Louis Laverne, who is a telecommunications planning consultant for the Cree Nation government, and Cédric Melançon, who is the Directeur Général de Réseau Communications Eeyou Communications Network. And at the end of the panel, at the far end of the panel, is François Turgeon, who's a member of the Executive Committee of the ECN and the Cree School Board representative on the Board of Directors. He's also the Director of Information Technologies and Telecommunications for the Cree School Board. Beside me is, well, I'll try to do this in the right order. Next to him is Bella Moses Petawabano, who is the chairperson of the Cree Board of Health and Social Services of James Bay, and she's also the representative of the Cree Health Board on the board of the ECN. Next to her is Dr. Ted Moses. Dr. Moses is the former Grand Chief of the Crees of Eeyou, and is also the initiator of the fiber optic project in James Bay. Next to him is Alfred Loon. Alfred Loon is the president of ECN and has been an economic development director for the Cree Nation government over a long period of time. And with that, I'll pass the microphone over to Dr. Moses.
Thank you, Hyman. Dziękuję za czesne dokonanie nasze rechibiat. Zji im hidat, ja mag zji maut zji nijianza algonquin so tench to ikuta. Washido de sio. Greetings, bonjour. It's a real pleasure for me to appear before you, and at this time I would like to acknowledge that we are meeting on our neighbors' traditional territory, the Algonquins. The Commission began these hearings with questions. In our replies, we proposed recommendations on how to eliminate the digital divide. Rather than repeat all those documents, I will summarize our position briefly, very briefly. Provide all Canadians quality broadband at a fair price. Provide all Canadians the same basic services. This approach worked with plain old telephones, and it will work in broadband. The benefits of making broadband a basic service for all Canadians will be felt across the spectrum. It will change the way we see ourselves, and it will change the way we do what needs to be done. By making broadband a universal service, it will help eliminate the healthcare deficit. It will help eliminate the education deficit. It will encourage Canadian innovation. It will advance literacy, travel, and enterprise. It will ensure that all Canadians, North and South, have a greater opportunity to be part of social governance. When it comes to remote and rural communities, as Bell says in our area, why bother? There is no business case for expanding networks. Our approach is far more positive. The capability to interact socially, whether it's for health, education, or telecommunications, is worth more than a simple bottom line business case. The social economy is as important for the life of a community as quarterly returns for the telcos. For us, the bottom line includes both long-term benefits and security. And what are these long-term benefits? To be simple and straightforward, ask if without inadequate telecommunication services, do more high school students graduate? Does the community and its services grow? Are communities healthier? Are there jobs for every person who wants one? Economic development and social advancement go hand in hand and create a balance. Government intervention in economic development should not penalize communities that need it. If a subsidy program were adopted for remote areas, the dividend should benefit everyone, not just the shareholders of telecos. If a case can be made for a government grant, it should be recognized and built upon, not battered by a telecom company whose only aim to focus your subsidies on its quarterly bottom line. Back in the late 1990s, when the Cree Nation became aware that there were fibers crossing USC, it took on the challenge. During my 10 years as Grand Chief of the Crees and the Cree Nation, I set up a telecommunications committee that became the Eeyou Communications Network, or ECN as its acronym. Back then, we devised a simple business plan. We determined that the biggest telecom users were the Cree School Board and the Cree Health Board, at what rate their annual budgetary increase would be, our likely startup date, and then we promised those agencies a deal. If they signed on and transferred their existing budgets, we would deliver at least 20 times the bandwidth they were receiving at the same price. And instead of high-cost, low-quality, slow-speed, and limited bandwidth internet, they could have enough bandwidth, virtually unlimited, to provide telemedicine, distance education, and whatever connectivity they needed. And to ensure that we would keep our word, they would have a seat on the board of directors of ECN. They agreed, and we delivered. It took a while to overcome the opposition from skeptical provincial and federal government agencies, but in the end, they understood that we were proposing to use existing budgets, not ask for additional money, and that any new investment they chose to make in the network would mean long-term savings for them. In effect, every dollar would be repaid repeatedly in cost savings, and it was. Together with our partners, including the 5 non-Aboriginal towns in the James Bay area, we knew we could provide world-class telecom service. And now, with the CRTC, considering including internet as a basic service with the possibility of a consumer subsidy to make the service affordable, ECN is now ready to roll out its plan to provide a real high-speed internet service for the region and all of our residents. Today, ECN is more than a First Nation nonprofit telecom. It serves two distinct cultures, 14 communities with a population of 30,000, working hard on development issues, and hundreds, if not thousands, of different types of businesses and services, all of them with a need for access to the world. If ECN were to receive a subsidy, the only beneficiaries would be its consumers. We are not asking for special treatment or for exceptional rules. We are asking for equal treatment and equal services. We are asking for a level playing field so that people in our communities can do the best they can without obstacles and without hindrance. We all need the same services, and we all need to be treated fairly. Society needs modern communication tools to prosper and to survive. This is a positive role for government to step in and say it must happen. And when telcos say there is no business case, the government should be open to encouraging those who can do it by finding other solutions. We have those solutions, and with your support, they can be implemented, and everyone will benefit from your determination. Thank you.
Bonjour. Hello, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, CRTC staff. Let me start by saying that I am here today in many roles, among others as member of the board of ECN and as a resident of an underserved community. I am a Northern Telecom consumer, a resident of Mistissini, a Telebec consumer for many years. I work with the Cree Board of Health and Social Services of James Bay, which means I need to travel across our region and elsewhere frequently. I'm away too often, and I don't have a landline at home. We hold our traditional feasts and family gatherings in Mistissini. That's where the roots of my family is. Since the internet there is limited by unreliable speed and dropped connections, my children and grandchildren, some of whom are in schools and universities in Montreal, Gatineau, often find these prolonged visits interfere with their studies and their friendships, like all young people. They need access to modern internet telecommunications. As you already know, Telebec Bell currently has an embargo on new DSL installations in most Cree communities. Recently, I contacted other suppliers, including ExploreNet, who said they have no service to Mistissini, a stop cell, they call it, until they have space available, which could take a few months to a year. I spoke to Bell, but since I have no land phone, although my house is already wired, notwithstanding the embargo, they would not provide a flat rate DSL service. Instead, they offered a turbo stick or turbo hub. Cellular internet, it seems, has no embargo, but also has no guarantee of data speed. My point is this. If Bell is a world-class company that claims the internet is provided everywhere, and if TELUS argues that we do not need to regulate how they deliver internet or to review the quality of services that internet providers offer, how do we ensure that service is available, honest, and reliable? And how do we ensure that it is affordable? I have worked in the Cree Board of Health and Social Services for most of my adult life, and I know how important the internet is in the delivery of these services. My community deserves to be more than a line entry on the phone economy books. It is the social fabric of our lives. If our young people have to leave in order to lead their lives, if they cannot conduct what today are considered basic skills to work, it is our loss. Were the Commission to make internet a basic service for consumers and subsidize its transport and its delivery, there would mean more jobs and the local economy would benefit. But before ECN builds its own home delivery system, if Bell were to use ECN for its providers so it can attach its own network to deliver internet services to homes, Bell could lift its DSL embargo and provide the services it already advertises in the phone directory as now available. For now, we will remain outside the circle, or as they say in the telecom language, beyond the cloud. That's what my experience as a consumer of telecom services is, and to me, that's just one example of what the digital divide means to us. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. I guess I'll begin by what ECN is not. We did not come about because of government grants or government programs, nor did we benefit from past federal government broadband programs or funds. It's not. We're not a profit-making company, and we do not charge for internet service if you live in a distant or isolated area far from our central. ECN is a product of initiative by the Cree Nation government. We are an independent, not-profit telecom network that serves the Cree communities of EUSG and non-Aboriginal James Bay area towns with fiber optic broadband linked internet. Whatever government money we received were from funds available to all communities and telecoms. Bell claims that subsidies should not be awarded to networks that have benefited from government funds. We find this position to be disingenuous, disrespectful to all First Nation communities, which, after all, have no tax base. and deceitful as they have on many occasions accepted these funds, yet argue they still qualify for subsidies. Basic services are intended to ensure the goals set out in the Telecommunications Act of Canada are delivered including the social objectives in Section 7. The major telecom may say that there is no business case for them to deliver quality broadband service in some high-cost serving areas, but for us, this is a solid business case. Our business case is based on the social economy of our region. ECN profitability is not only measured by our bottom line, but also by how many economic opportunities we create and how many skills we advance. We work with health and education agencies to provide facilities for social advancement and for community betterment. We make jobs, we promote capability. If you contrast ECN equal access pricing, charging all communities the same price, with a local ILEC policy of charging different rates depending on distance from Val-d'Or or its user size, it is clear how the ECN policy is intended to break down the digital divide between northern and southern communities in our region. We propose that this commission reset telecommunications policies to meet community needs, as it says in Section 7 of the Telecommunications Act, Part H, to respond to the economic and social requirements of users of telecommunications services. We support the ideas put forward by Affordable Access Coalition. Cost of delivery in the north is a major factor in pricing services, and it is important that our residents are not punished for living in outlying areas. The ACC proposal for build-outs in unserved or underserved areas deserves attention, and thus the need for consumers to be subsidized. For any subsidies to be fair, transport and local distribution costs should be examined, and subsidies should be determined separately, perhaps even a mix and match approach where there are better quality transport networks available, like in our region. Most of all, the subsidies should ensure that consumers pay a fair rate for service, and the quality of service should be comparable to urban areas. Eeyou Communications Network is expanding into direct consumer connectivity by as early as maybe 2018 for a range of telecommunications products. We have already built in all of our 14 communities a local fiber loop and a point of presence. ECN is a network with a social purpose. Our mission is to serve by providing high-capacity telecom, and we have the capability to bring. Merci. Thank you.
Hello, my name is François Turgeon. I'm Director of IT at the Cree School Board, and on behalf of my employer and on behalf of the students we support, we believe that CRTC needs to obligate broadband technology as a basic service for all homes in the James Bay EUSG territory. Please consider this. EUSG is situated far from higher learning centers, colleges, and universities, and the Cree School Board and McGill University organized the delivery of distance education courses in business administration to the population. But except for Shisasabi and Wemiji, where internet is provided by local cable companies using ECN, Crees cannot access the course over DSL internet. The reason is that Telebec DSL service is unreliable or simply not available at all. Distance learning for our students is difficult or even not possible when connectivity to internet is not available. A solution would be to make quality internet service universal and affordable to everyone in the northern communities. Big telcos may object and claim there are overriding issues including costs and digital literacy problems. Let's consider the cost issue. In EUSG, Telebec will not install new DSL customers because there is an embargo in all communities from the local telco, which is Telebec. This makes it harder or difficult to attract talented teachers and even retain them. For students, now that the schools with ECN service have made the internet an integral part of the learning experience, what happens when the students go home? There's no equivalent service to access homework through internet or to complete their assignments electronically. Online tutoring is also not available either because there's no internet access offered at the home. Web portal services to parents and to students to follow and monitor the progress of the children is also difficult to implement when internet is, again, not available. For families who are fortunate enough to be in service zone but have limited funds, cost becomes a key factor. And as a result, it determines your side of the divide. Affordability in high-class service areas needs to be addressed with a mandated basic internet service package that is clearly priced with no less than 5 megabytes bandwidth download. When students are present in the home, there could be a discounted rate to this home to help the low-income houses, which is the low-income families right now is at 25% in the Cree communities in northern Quebec. Then there is the issue of digital literacy. The telcos ask, why invest in internet when there is a low rate of digital literacy? The answer is not in direct regulation, but in education. After all, you have to be literate to be digitally literate. Technology, including internet service, are tools to teach our students. In 2016, our population needs these tools to improve success for our students by improving literacy and at the same time digital literacy. According to the Canadian Literacy and Learning Network, spending on literacy has successful 241% return rate on investment. But even with this such a significant return, does this interest the industry? The solution to low digital literacy is not denying internet service. It is with public education, such as the courses that ECN provided for community residents for the last 10 years. A list of our training and literacy courses was filed in response to our CRTC interrogatory. Have any telcos offered a similar comprehensive selection of courses in technology and provided it without charge to its consumers? Finally, we can eliminate the frustration that comes when a computer doesn't do what we need it to do by assuring that the cause is not poor internet service. In conclusion, as Lord Kelvin said, if you cannot measure it, you cannot improve it. Thank you.
Someone also said that what gets measured gets done. So, same spirit. Thank you for that. I'll put you in the hands of Commissioner Vennard as a first round of questions.
Good morning. Thank you for coming to talk to us today. There's a number of areas that I'd like to discuss with you, and these include, I'd like to know a little bit more about the background and how you achieved the success that you have achieved so far. And then I'd like to focus on your solution and where you plan on going next. So while we hear a lot about the challenges and the barriers that Canadians are facing, we're very interested in success stories too. And obviously you have a success story to tell us about your journey so far. So perhaps this question should probably be directed at Dr. Moses, since you are the founder of the ECN network, and it went all the way back to the late 1990s. And so obviously you were a little ahead of your time in your thinking at that time. So could you tell us what happened? Did you discover fiber somewhere, or what happened? Because the internet, wasn't really that big a deal at that time.
Thank you. I'll attempt to answer the question, and maybe I'll ask for some help from my colleagues here. I discovered fiber optic without knowing it. When I was the Grand Chief, as a part of my duties, I traveled extensively, and I traveled a lot with my family, driving up to East Maine, several hundred kilometers away. And on the way, I crisscrossed high-tension 750 kV lines with a line running on top. It always intrigued me. What was that line for? It was not a line to transport 750,000 volts of electricity. And then one day, someone explained it to me that it's a fiber optic line, that it is used by Hydro-Quebec in the operation of their power generating stations in the different places in James Bay. And then it dawned to me that having fiber optic could mean a big advancement for the Cree Nation. We have been administering our communities since 1975, after we signed the James Bay Northern Quebec Agreement with the Government of Canada, the Government of Quebec, Hydro-Quebec, SCBJ. And more, we have to deliver services to our members. So there was no internet services, I guess, in 1975. Telephone was by radio telephone. There were no telephone lines into the houses. You had to go to a shack that Telebec built where you could place your call, and your call was dispatched to Alma, who connected you to the number that you were calling. That was the extent of the services. In 2002, we entered into a new paradigm with the Government of Quebec. We signed the La Paix des Braves agreement, which basically meant that we were renewing our relationship, one in which where the Crees would embrace development in the north, where they could be partners in development. And the result was then the agreement of La Paix des Braves. The agreement starts off as being, on an equal footing with the Government of Quebec, nation to nation, government to government. That was the principle under which the negotiations were conducted. And recently we have special legislation that recognizes the Cree Nation government for the Cree territory, as well as a joint management of the territory with our neighboring communities. So we have Cree and non-Cree that are working together. It's one of the few places, I guess, in Canada where partnership really works, with the Crees and the governments and businesses are working in partnership, and everyone is working towards the same cause. Since that relationship was starting off very well with Quebec and Hydro-Quebec, as you know, Hydro-Quebec is owned by the Government of Quebec, I approached the president of Hydro-Quebec and asked him, what were the possibility of getting a few strands of fiber optic that could be made available to the Cree Nation for the Cree Nation to use through some kind of a company that we would, telecommunications company that we would put together. And after some discussion, we were able to come to an understanding, an agreement that would allow the Cree Nation to have access to maybe 3 strands of fiber, 5 for future altogether. It never happened in the history of Hydro-Quebec or in the history of fiber optic in Quebec that anyone has been able to successfully conclude an agreement with Hydro-Quebec over the use of the fiber optic network.
Yeah.
And
I
that's how
suspected
it
there was
started.
an interesting story of some kind when I was reading your submission, which is why I was asking you to expand on it. So
that's how we started. We worked with Hydro-Quebec. First starting off, I set up a committee. I was the Grand Chief at the time. And then, we worked hard. Everyone worked hard. It's amazing how partnerships can come about. When they do come about, when you work towards the same cause, everybody puts in their effort to ensure that things work, that there is a positive result that benefits both parties. And since that time, then the discussions with the federal, as I mentioned, with the Quebec government over funding, our potential partners, the Cree School Board, the Cree Board of Health and Social Services, the Cree communities in EUSC, and now here we are today. I don't know if you want to hear more of the other stuff that happens.
So just to make sure that I'm on the right page here with your history, so you were able to put together a partnership that worked really, really well and utilize infrastructure that was already in place.
Yes.
Yeah. Where did you get the expertise who had the expertise to take it out to the, there's another interesting story there from that small.
I'm going to let the president of ECN answer that
Okay.
one.
Thank you. When Mr. Moses was Grand Chief, and I was his economic development officer, and when he came, when I was summoned to his office and said that what he wanted to have it done, so I had to ensure that I had to be a successful, we had to have success in doing it. So, and at that time, I was in economic development. I had no knowledge in telecommunications. So anything about telecommunications was like, phew. So the first thing we did was we assembled a team and teamed together, and that was we approached the Cree School Board. At the end of the table, Mr. Turgeon, he was also the director of IT for the school board. Then we did the same thing for the health board. And one of the things we hired was an engineer to give us a hand on the when we set up the committee. Then also I hired somebody who will give me the everyday language of what telecommunications means. That's how we started this committee together. And this is mainly for what I had in mind was just I wanted to because I was working with the economic development officers from the local communities. What I want them to do was just to access internet for their own research, for their own work, and from that it expanded to health, education, and it just keep on growing. So that's how we started off at the beginning.
Yeah, that's a really interesting story. Thank you for sharing it with us. So by using the existing infrastructure, it sounds like you focused on two different areas, health and education, as the primary places to start.
Yes, as you know, one of the three biggest employers in the region was the government, local government and regional government, health and education. So it was for us. It made sense to approach these entities first, and yeah, that's how we built the whole network.
Okay,
and they had like the health board had their own expertise in their own departments. Organization, so was the health board.
So the funding for this project came from your partners and the partners that knew that they would benefit from it, and you delivered on that. Do you have do you have an estimate of roughly how much that might have cost in terms of, I don't know what even year dollars to try and put on that one, but I'm just wondering about the magnitude of it.
Okay, just if I could answer the original, the first part of the network, the phase one, was about $29 million.
Okay.
And the $29 million was made up of money from the Grand Council, which provided a third of the money. And in addition, some of the money came from Quebec, from the Village Branché program, to connect school boards and municipalities. And a portion of the money came from federal economic development money, which was accorded on a regional basis in the north. The money could have been used elsewhere, but the Grand Council decided in its wisdom to use the money for the network. The Grand Council has jurisdiction over economic development in the region, right, and decides where the money's going.
Okay. So you're a not-for-profit. So And at this time, you connect businesses and government institutions? Is that?
Well, we appreciate your comments at the outset that this is a success story.
Mm-hmm.
We don't really see it we see it as an incomplete story, because although we've been able to connect the major institutions in the community and deliver, very important services in the community, we haven't been able to connect users. We haven't been able to connect households.
Yeah.
We're not able to provide, although we have the capability, we have the capacity, and we have the network, we also don't have local distribution networks that actually go
and
to
of
the
course,
homes.
I'd like to just put that aside for the moment,
Yeah,
because
okay.
right now
okay.
I just want
a bit of modesty here.
Yeah, I got that part. So this sounds like it was really quite a large undertaking when it comes right down to it. How many people did you have working on it, and what was your time frame for it, and so on?
There were about 5 of us working, 3 of whom actually knew how telecom worked, and Alfred and myself, who observed from a distance. No, seriously, there were 5 people working full time. The risk money for the project was entirely paid by the Grand Council. And we don't. It was over a period of 8 years. It was a substantial amount of money.
Yeah.
But the council paid it. That was in addition to the portion of the money they used for paying for the network.
Okay. So the operating costs of the network and so on, how does that work now? What sort of arrangements do you have with Hydro-Quebec at this time?
You mean for how the network actually charges?
Yeah.
users?
I'm wondering about what's out there working right now. I'm just wondering about how that's all organized.
I'll ask Cédric Melançon to.
Bonjour. Au niveau de l'opération du réseau,
with respect to the operation of the network, concerning the backbone, that is confidential information, but we could provide you with that as long as we could file it with you if the confidentiality is respected. With respect to the network that was deployed.
To provide that to us?
Certainly.
sure, but we'll need to have an agreement from the other party
Okay.
to do so,
Okay.
which is not.
Est-ce que
If you file this with the request for confidentiality, do you still need to ask for the request of the other parties? Yes, even in that case? Yes, we do. Okay. Concerning the operation of the network, including this aspect with respect to the backbone, we have 2 objectives. We want to be able to cover the cost of our operations, our operational costs, and we want to also have to generate a fund for renewing equipment that will allow us over the next 10, 20, even 50 years to renew all of the structures. So those are our objectives. We hope to be able to position ourselves to be able to get what we're looking for, and that will mean that we'll have a lot of effort, but we are completely standalone. In our network, our partners, there is the maintenance of the fiber optic, but with everything about this fiber optic which has been deployed and for the services delivered, and we do the management ourselves.
That. So currently, I can hear myself. So currently, you're not operating on the basis of subsidies. You're nonprofit.
Exactly. And as you know, the business case for telecommunications in remote areas is more difficult. We understand that, for example, delivery of services to the residences is an important part in managing our network on the long term. And so for now, we're certainly able to support our own operational costs, but for the long term and for the renewal of our equipment, we have a plan, and this plan includes also delivery of services to the homes.
Okay. Perhaps it's time to move to the plans that you have and on to the next part of it. My colleagues may have some different questions for you with respect to the history, and I'll leave that for them to ask if there are any. So you have now a plan, you have a solution for the plan, and you've developed the way forward in the next part in your story. And it sounds like part of that plan is to complete the network, as you indicated in your drawings. Do you have a time frame on when that is going to be finished?
I imagine you're referring to the consumers, the residents?
No, just the transport part of the
Okay.
of it. Okay.
Yes. As you know, the ECN is divided into two phases. We did the first phase about 4 years ago, and now we're going to be completing our phase 2 this summer. And
This summer?
This summer, yeah. And that'll be the whole complete the whole ECN project as was intended. However, there's only one community that we still have to connect. That is the furthest north. Is in the Wapmixto or Kujarpik. Yeah, and that's a very challenging part of to connect. And on that part there, the Quebec government under the Plan Nord is involved. So we're going to be working with the Quebec government in trying to find a solution to connect the Wapmixto, that community.
Okay.
And for future plans, when it comes to the residents, we have.
Yeah, that's the really interesting part that I think I'd like to turn to now. Is that, and I can see that you're excited to talk about that too. So let's go.
Okay. And after we do phase 2, and the next project is the consumers, and we developed a solution, and that is the fiber to the home, and offering triple play to not only to our Cree communities, but also the whole region, municipalities, or anybody that lives within the ECN area will make every attempt to connect.
Now, do you have some dark fiber, or are you going to use the same fiber that you're already using and extend that fiber up to the home?
Like I said, we do have some local loops, but we're going to need other fiber to connect to the actual residents.
So you're going to have some. You're looking at installation of fiber too, not using existing fiber that's there. Although, do you have some in place already, or rights to use some?
To the homes?
Not to the home, because to the backbone.
Oh yeah, so we do have backbone. Well, we do have we have connected the communities through the health and education and all that. Mm-hmm. And yes, we're going to use that part of that as a transport for our FTTs to connect to the homes.
Yeah. So now you're just talking about taking it right from the backbone and into the home. Is what that phase of your project
exactly, from our, what we call our POPs, from point of presence in each community. Sure. From there, we will connect to the homes.
Okay. So tell us about your plans for that. Where are you in that?
Right now, we're at the beginning of the planning stages, and what we have done was well, first of all, I had to learn what is fiber at home. So we visited a Alcatel-Lucent lab here in Ottawa region, and it showed us how it worked. And after that, what we did was there was a feasibility study done, and to find out that how much would it cost, and how much and what we can deliver. And from that, we did a tour to all communities, to all the chief and councils, and to see if they would accept this project. And we did get good reception from the chief and council, and also we did the municipalities. And from that, what we'll do is we'll set up we'll call it a steering committee, and that will determine how we're going to structure and how we're going to operate it, and everything from the ownership, and also how we're going to finance the project itself.
So have you set up your steering committee already, or is that happening?
We set up our steering committee already, and we had our first meeting in March, and it went really well. And right now we're just we asked them a few questions and about the project and how they see it.
Yeah. So you're just basically fact finding right now and putting together a plan for doing this. You know your direction, but you don't have your plan for that.
Yes, we're in the planning stages and
Yeah.
and.
Yeah. Do you have any numbers around that? Any guesses?
Well, the project itself connecting about over 9,000 residents, and also we will connect the small enterprises, small businesses, and just on the homes it's a little over 9,000, and with about 13 communities, we estimated the project was within about 20 million.
Okay. Are you thinking of having the same model where it'll be a nonprofit, it'll sort of finance itself, or are you thinking of profit at this point?
Well, that will be up to the steering committee to decide how they're going to structure. But I guess that's how we see it. It'll be more for a profit type enterprise.
Right. Okay. Okay. Now, with your solution, and you do agree with the Affordable Access Coalition ideas the other day that they put forward the other day, which is that you're thinking that you would like to have a subsidy of some kind for the transport and also for the distribution part of the network. Is that correct?
Yeah, just to be clear, no, we support the notion of the build-out subsidies and of their approach to it. We don't foresee asking for money for a build-out subsidy.
I thought I saw that. Okay.
The only place we might be concerned, we're a little concerned about, which is the price of the drops from the local network. Once we build the local network, that part would not be of concern for a subsidy, but for the drops to the homes from the network, what do you call the ONT? Yeah, those things they're expensive. We estimate it's something in the vicinity of $300 per home. So from that side, because that cost is usually borne by the consumer, we would seriously consider that there might be some, requirement there to ask for some sort of funding. But no, not for the building itself. No, we fully support the notion that there should be a build-out subsidy, but that money should be used in communities that actually need the local network. But that's not our. We're not here asking for that money.
Yeah. So you're not looking for any sort of build-out.
No, like I say, the only place is possibly on from the consumer end in terms of installation. The idea of asking somebody to pay $300 for a drop seems somewhat exorbitant, although I paid $150 in my house. But I didn't pay $300.
Yeah. Okay. So then when it comes to the a subsidy to pay for it, the affordability question. So once it gets out there, assuming it gets out there, and then how are people going to pay for this? Because you've asked for two different levels of subsidy, so maybe you can just sort of expand on what your thinking was with that.
Oh, okay. For the function, to us, the function of a subsidy is to provide money for consumers so they can afford the services. That's the sort of bottom line of what the subsidy is for. We foresee possibly, at the moment, looking at a business rate, that the subscription rate might be possibly around $55 or $60 per household. We would imagine that an affordable rate for internet service, for basic internet service, for a minimum plan, should probably be closer to $30. So from that side, we believe that consumers, should be, they should pay the same rates as they pay in major urban centers. Put it that way. I think that's a consideration. So, the answers, the figures we're looking at are, probably, closer to 30, but it's not deliverable at that rate.
Yeah. So where would you see this coming from? How would you see this, a subsidy working for this?
Well, we think that the fund should come about the same way that the fund for telephone service is set up, that the major users contribute to the fund, the major providers contribute to the fund the same way that it is with the telephone fund, and that the money be distributed to consumers. So we understand that the issue is the CRTC. We're not asking the CRTC to mail a check to every individual user, but perhaps I don't know how the CRTC would structure it, whether it be a negative license fee or it would be a
that's what I'm wondering,
fee.
because
I'm not really familiar with how the CRTC operates on.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get some information here, because on how you see this thing working, because you are nonprofit and you will be basically funding yourself and so on and so forth, and yet the idea of a user subsidy comes into it, and so I'm looking at trying to understand how that fits into this picture that you're talking about.
Well, as it stands right now, if an organization declares its users, has a list of subscribers, I mean, I think it's easy to calculate how what the rate of, we know what affordable rate is. If the CRTC agrees on what an affordable rate is, unlike a profit-making telco, which does its business line forward, which is to determine, how much money they can make, we do our business line backwards virtually, because the idea is to arrive at a zero level at the end of the year. So the users get charged in relation to what the costs are. When we know what the costs are, then we know what the user pays. We don't make a profit and we don't lose money. I mean, the benefits that we see as a business relate to, the success in the community. I mean, if more people use the service, if more businesses use the service, well, then we have more revenue and we have more users, and so it costs less for people to use the service.
Yeah, that's why we're going down this path of talking about this, because it seems to be, it's not clear to me how you actually see that working. I mean, it's one thing if you're a for-profit and then there's a subsidy, but I'm not sure how you saw this working, because, you're the one who brought up the idea of a subsidy for the...
Well, I mean, to my mind, it works. I mean, the ECN is registered as a non-dominant carrier, and it would be registered as a provider once it is a provider, and it would do the same. It would be the same thing. It would be treated as just the same as any other telecom.
Okay, so what sort of a fund do you see? Do you see it being like the national contribution fund, or do you see repurposing that fund or development of a new fund, or what are your thoughts on that?
I don't. We're not opposed to the national contribution fund. We're not asking that it be dismantled. We support the idea that telephone companies, contribute to this fund so that telephones are affordable. All we're asking for is the same treatment on internet side.
Yeah, because you had a lot of detail in here on how you saw a subsidy working. For example, you suggested that the subsidies should be portable, for instance. So you must have some idea or some plan for how that would work.
I would suggest that it would be modeled the same way that the National Contribution Fund is set up. I mean, I don't see why, as a nonprofit, I mean, it's a business nonetheless. I mean, just because it doesn't pay dividends to shareholders, it's no less a business than any other business.
Yeah, it seems like the idea, it was one of your recommendations, the, portability, but yet I'm still not really clear on how that fund would, where it would come from, where it would go to, how it would be administered, what the conditions would be, who the decision makers would be. It's not clear to me from your recommendations where you're coming from on that.
Well, as I said, the model we used was the National Contribution Fund, and we were just drawing a parallel between, the two subsidies. I mean, there is the subsidy now on telephone service, and we were proposing that it be the same. I mean, there are various models that were proposed for how the subsidy regime would operate from various other interveners, whether it was from First Mile or from the AAC. And we're not, look, we're not, make it clear, we're not, we don't come here as some sort of, we have no prior knowledge of the regulatory regime and how it operates. We take a model like telephone service, and we're applying it to internet service. Mm-hmm. And I wish I could give you more detail on how, how we would apply one to the other, except I'm not really familiar with sort of internally in the CRTC of how these things, operate. I understand they do operate, and I understand what they do. Mm-hmm. And we're just simply, identifying something and saying this is a good model.
Okay, well, yeah, that's fair enough. It's just that I'm going down your recommendations and looking mm-hmm. at your submission, and you in some places you mention things that are really very, very big, and it only takes a couple of lines, and I'm just wondering if you want to expand on any of those. If you haven't really thought about it, that's fine. It's just an opportunity for you to say what you think about these things that you brought up, if you want to. If you haven't got that far in the thinking, that's fine too. I know you're early in the project, so that's also fine too. Perhaps some of my colleagues have a question or two on that as well. You also mentioned that in your recommendations about renewable subsidies. So somebody's done a little bit of thinking on the whole question of the subsidies, portable, renewable. But it seems like that maybe you're still in the thinking stages of that as well. You also mentioned in your recommendation about high-cost subsidy zones. Would you care to comment on that, or is that still part of your thinking stages?
Yeah, just our point is that the high-cost subsidy zones seem to follow the architecture of the telcos, right, which is that the farther you go along the line, the greater the subsidy gets. We think that if there's other ways of delivering a service to the community, that the costs not necessarily be apportioned the same way. That I don't think that it's a good model. I think that perhaps the model applies to telephone service, the wireline telephone service, but the internet service, it may not follow. And all we're saying is that communities that, are eligible, I mean, to our point, the issue is a fair price for internet. We're not arguing with the telcos over what their rate of subsidy is per community. All we're saying is that there should be a fair price, and the subsidy should follow. We don't think that the subsidy for internet will, if it uses a means other than the telco network for distribution, that it will necessarily follow the same way. That the end of the line may not mean more money than any other point in the line. But At the moment, the structure is designed to suit the telco's distribution method. And
Okay. I want to go back to this. This is sort of my final question before I pass over to my colleagues for if they have any questions for you. I want to go back to the idea of the renewable subsidies because, and you brought this up, and that is the idea that does seem to be sort of fit in with your model, which is that you can adjust depending on what the financial situation is for the network. Then you can adjust, and it could either go up or down or whatever. So that's a very interesting concept. Now, I don't think I have at this time any more questions for you. Is there anything else you'd like to bring to our attention?
well, if I could just add on the issue of renewable subsidies, there are two reasons for it, why we proposed it. The first one is because the technologies change really fast, and the methods of distribution sometimes require additional equipment. Sometimes they could use the same equipment. You get more capacity out of them, and that the costs may not be reflected on the idea of a subsidy. The subsidy may, in fact, change because it should be based on real costs. And the second reason is because the price of buying, for example, internet changes. Is reduced remarkably in the last, in bulk internet, it's reduced dramatically, and that these costs should be reflected so that what is a subsidy this year may not be the subsidy next year. That's all, which is our point, is that that's one of the difficulties we have in determining an actual number, because the numbers, they're a moving target. Yeah. And I think it's something it's incumbent on the Commission to identify the numbers, before you hand out the money. And all we're proposing is that there not be a single target, a single number, but that the number be based on an affordable price.
Okay. Okay, thanks for that. There is, I thought of another area that I'd like to talk about, so I retract my former statement that I was ready to move on. And what I'd like to talk about, it just occurred to me, is the digital literacy and also the education part. When I read your submission, I see that you do a lot when it comes to training people how to develop the network, and it sounds like technicians. Is that accurate? Could you tell us something about your training programs and so on for even doing the network?
Well, the Cree School Board actually has many programs of online remote training or even on-the-site training using content from the internet. Our schools, like Alfred mentioned, the phase one of the project connected 65% of our schools, which allowed us to start offering content that we weren't able to do before, but we do have many training services offered and programs as far as they're for teachers. Some of them are for teachers. Some of them are for services for students. It's as soon as we go out of the school building, that's the problem. The services cannot be offered to the homes for teachers, for parents, even for students, because they don't have access to internet. They want internet and they can't even get it. So those services that we provide, yes, they're very good in the schools, but as soon as we go out, it falls apart because of internet connectivity.
It sounds like you have programs for technical training and so on for people to actually become educated in the area of telecommunications. Does that include fiber optic programs and so on, or is that something you're thinking about? That's
the ECN program you're talking about. I'll let Alfred or Hyman.
I'll give it a shot. Yes, altogether, we had about three training programs under the guidance of ECN, and that all include like the first one included what is broadband, and very, very basic. Then the last one we did was a 3-year program, and that consisted of all the major components of the telecommunications. When you come out of that, you would be a qualified technician to work under the ECN or any other telco entity.
Are you? Do you have an idea towards training people to actually do the network yourselves from within your communities?
I guess that would be part of the the plan that future plan that ECN have is ensure to have full qualified technicians, and also the other thing that we will probably most likely do is with the Cree School Board is attend the career fairs and also visiting schools and informing the younger generation that what's coming to the community, like ECN and all of its opportunities with it. That that is part of the plan that we want to do under ECN.
If I could add just one point, that up to now, in terms of the courses that have been done, 33 graduates have found work in IT in the Cree communities. Mm-hmm. There's as many jobs as are available, we were able to fill. Hmm. We have more qualified candidates, by the way, if anybody's watching on CPAC and wants to hire one.
Okay, those are all my questions. Thank you very much, and good luck with your project.
Thank you. Vice Chair Menzies?
Thank you, and thank you for coming here. I know it's some travels involved. It strikes me that you're pretty well situated, and overall, not that there aren't issues, but if the difference between a $150 drop and a $300 drop is among them, these things are probably surmountable at some point. Would you be willing? You may have heard or may not have heard Roger's presentation yesterday, in which, following up on comments that the chair made earlier this week regarding a coordinated national strategy that would serve remote areas, First Nations communities, and others, that there be an advisory council put together. It strikes me that you have a lot to bring to that, particularly your experience with accessing transport that's outside of telco architecture. With Hydro-Quebec. Would you be willing to participate?
Yes. Actually, what's happening is that sometimes I get invited to speak to conferences about ECN experience, and yes, we'd be gladly to participate on any advisory group on telecommunications, especially if it deals with the First Nation communities in northern regions.
Yeah, I think you could. Yeah. Offer a lot. Anyway, that was only my only question. Thank you very much.
Commissioner Molnar?
Thank you. I just want to understand a little better. Ms. Moses, you were talking about your personal situation and the struggles that you have faced personally trying to become connected. So today, within the region that you are planning to build your distribution, your fiber distribution, they are served by Telebec, and there is a satellite footprint, so that's a possibility, and you've got Bell Mobility. Is that correct? I realize none of them are looking to serve you right now, but you've got those different possibilities within these areas?
Well, I started off by asking Shaw, and Shaw directed me to ExploreNet, and they have a base, I guess, in Chibougamau, Quebec, and they informed me that yes, they do provide internet, and that I would need I didn't need a landline to be provided by ExploreNet, but it's a satellite dish that I would that I would require. However, the reliability is not great. During a storm, I could have no internet at all, and sometimes the speed is very slow. So that was my first experience of with ExploreNet. So and then because I didn't want a landline, because I don't need one, I have a cell phone, and Bell told me that, well, without a landline, you will have to. The only thing we can provide you with is a hub or turbo stick. That's quite expensive. So I didn't go for either one. I'm waiting for ECN.
You're waiting for ECN. So you have this plan to build fiber to the premise within, I think you said 13 communities, is that correct? And it's essentially going to overbuild and compete against Shaw, Telebec, and ExploreNet. Is that correct?
Well, theoretically, yes, except that
Except they're not offering.
Except they're not operating. One has a stop cell. One has a capped limit on the internet that makes it unaffordable. Yeah, so the answer is yes.
Right.
It's not. This is not. So the answer is yes. There are other providers, but it's not. This is not.
But there's frustrations in the community and lack of.
Yeah. There's no service. I mean, it's nice that there's providers, but there's still no service.
Right. So you were out front pioneering the fiber transport to remote communities, and now it sounds like perhaps you'll be out front of many communities in putting fiber to the premise. And one of the things we've heard through this proceeding is that we should certainly, in anything we look at or recommendations, that we should be technically agnostic, and it should be the best technology for an area. So how did you determine that fiber to the prem was the best technology in comparison to something like a wireless solution? We've heard many smaller communities are best served by a wireless solution, such as an LTE solution.
I'll ask my colleague here to help me out once I'm finished. I just want to point out that the communities that ECN would be serving is 9 Cree communities spread out over thousands of kilometers of land, and 4 non-Aboriginal communities, mostly in the south, Chibougamau, Japé, Lebel-Sakavillon, and Matagami. So that makes it 13 communities as well. And at the beginning, when we were discussing this, when I was Grand Chief, when we presented the idea, the concept of a fiber optic high-speed network that could service the Cree communities, people looked forward to it. People were ready to jump on the wagon with it because of their experience with the services provided by the local telcos. And one must understand that telecommunications in the north is very, very important. It is an essential service. And when you get dropped off on your connections, it means a lot to people. We administer and manage millions of dollars by way of provision of services to our Cree communities, and we move money around using the internet, working with the banks. So, the people at the time were very interested in the fiber optic network because it would bring high speed, there would be reliability, and, people are, in politics, you try to create, improve the economy. You try to bring jobs. We have a young population. We are 18,000. 75% of that population is under the age of 25. And they all aspire, except for the babies, not yet, aspire to be connected, to connectivity. And we were 6,500 in 1975. We have tripled. And we anticipate that our demographic statistics tell us that we will probably double by 2025, 30. So for 18,000, we're going to be over 35,000. With a very young population. I represent the 1%. Maybe Alfred can add.
Essentially, when we built ECN, the highway was already there. So and it's a matter of what would be the best approach for the residents, and we said, well, aside from internet, what else can we offer? So we came with the idea of doing what I call a triple play, internet, video, and IP telephony. So and that we figured that would be a better quality system than a Wi-Fi. So as the ECN was already there in community, might as well extend that part and do it just as build this as a quality service as we had done with the entities, health boards and schools. So we just extended to the residents.
So in your feasibility study, you didn't examine other technologies. You just
not before the feasibility study, but before that we did a lot of talking and planning, and that's the best solution we came up with, because we already have a fiber network. Might as well use that to its full advantage. Mm-hmm. That's what we're doing.
Can I ask one more question?
Excuse me if I just can add something. We had some experience with doing wireless programs in some communities on an experimental basis. There was one set up in Waskaganish, and there was one set up in Nuchabugamu, and the performance wasn't adequate. So it's possible that it was the technology at the time, it was the equipment that was available, but it was, just done on an experimental basis to see if it was what could be delivered, and we didn't find that the service was. They ended up with, people who had Telebec modems stayed with them.
Thank you. As we've examined this issue, and I had prior to this been part of an examination of remote satellite-served communities and so on, and it really strikes me there's very significant differences and disparities across areas of Canada in both what is delivered today and plans to deliver. And often it seems to really land with whether or not there's a champion for the community and how that champion takes forward the vision, if you will, and looks for opportunities for funding, can explain what the benefits are to the community, both economically, socially, culturally, and so on. And you have a champion, and I see, where you're moving. But when you champion this, are you speaking of this sort of competing for funding with other infrastructure, or does telecom sit alone, or is it a vision where you're taking this and saying, with investment in roads, with investment in housing, with investments in education, there's also an investment required in a telecommunications network that connects us? Can you tell me, when you're championing, when you're out there, what's the message? What's the message that has enabled you to be successful in moving forward this network, where some parts it has not moved forward this quickly?
Well, just on the premise, we don't see telecommunications as disconnected from everything else. We see it as a part of the whole of society. So what we do an improvement in telecommunications, it improves police services, it improves justice services. It means that, there's local courthouses in all the communities now. These things were never possible, but it also reduces the requirements on budget, so the Grand Council doesn't have to pay to transport defense lawyers all over the place. It's like something that can be provided for with telecommunications. So it's not an expense, it's an investment. And the return on it is absolute. I mean, there's no question of whatever dollar is put into it comes back many times. The federal government, which used to fly patients out of the communities, I believe it's called uninsured benefits. Uninsured benefits that the federal government would pay, is not there anymore. I mean, there was millions of dollars that were paid to fly people for medical appointments that don't have to be flown out for appointments anymore. So if the federal government puts money in, is the $13 million that it paid for, uninsured benefits, is that an investment or is it a saving? No, we see it as it's a function of telecommunications. So we don't see, it's not a question, we're not taking money from water supplies to put money into telecommunications. We now monitor the water stations, with telecommunications because we have the capacity. And so, certain things can be insured, whereas before they couldn't be. Somebody would literally have to go, be on site. So in that sense, it's not, the Grand Council has been, from the beginning, has been, really remarkable because they've always seen it as a voice for society, and that a society can't exist without the voice, and it needed it, that's where it came from. It was a rather daring leadership, I might say. Not that I'm just trying to pass compliments across the table, but in fact it was a risky effort, and it paid off. And so now when the network wants to expand, it has to go look for its own money. It has to operate on its own, except it exists. It's a viable body. It can, it can function.
Thank you.
Would you want to add something, Dr. Moses, on that, on the question of leadership and getting the vision done?
Yes, thank you. I'll take a shot at it. Well, back in at that time, 2002, the communication services was not satisfactory to the people, to the Cree leadership. And at the time when I was Grand Chief, when I started to know a bit more about fiber optic, before that my knowledge was limited to, I was the first one in my community of East Main to have a fiber optic Christmas wreath. And everyone thought, wow, this is high tech at the time. And it was not connected to any fiber optic network. It was connected to the, not even to the grid, but to the generating station, the local generating station. And the Grand Council is formed of all the chiefs of the Cree communities plus an elected representative. And they all have experience on working using the local telco services. At times you get dropped. I've had many experiences with it where I would have telephone conferences with the chiefs in the territory, and you lose a connection, and then it's hard to get back. When you try to have 9 chiefs in 9 different places, it's difficult to get everybody back online. And people have commitments and their schedules, and So, and sometimes these drop-offs can be not just a few minutes, it could be hours, and maybe even a day or two. That hasn't changed much. We still experience, I'm in the north quite often, and sometimes I stay at my daughter's place and get up in the morning and she says, "Oh, Dad, you'll have to wait for, I don't know, indefinite period of time. The computer's out. There's no service." Well, when will it come on? I ask. He says, "Well, we don't know. That's a part of life up here." And at the time, the people, when they were considering this, the chiefs and myself, we saw the need to improve the services up there for the benefit of our people, for the benefit of government, their own governments, because they administer government services, as well as the health, education, and the business sector of the Cree Nation. And we saw the benefits of owning your own network, which could provide high-speed internet service to the Cree communities. Basically, people just wanted to be connected to the rest of the world. We had been isolated for many, many years, and we worked hard to get airport services into our communities. We worked hard to control our own health and social services, our own health education services, and it took a long time. It's only in the last few years that we had the road network completed that would allow us to drive in and out of our communities to Val-d'Or, Montreal, and Ottawa. So with that in mind, that our leadership decided to embark on this new vision of a new challenge in trying to improve the telecommunication services into the Cree communities, because it's very important. We communicate with each other. The Cree Nation with the Cree communities, the Cree communities amongst themselves. We have a lot of committees, a lot of structures there that rely on communications as a part of their work. And of course, when you own your own network, well then you can also create jobs and train people and and improve upon the local economy. Keep the dollar inside the community as opposed to going out. And you can have the dollar circulate several times more. So it was with that vision in mind that we had. There was something new. It was challenging. It was not many people knew or understood about fiber optics. But as time went on, we're getting to be experts.
Thank you for that. I acknowledge that there are still gaps, but I still think that you have a very rich experience that I'm very happy that you shared with us in this proceeding, and will certainly inform our thinking and our reflection as we go forward. So thank you very much for having participated in this hearing. We'll take a short mid-morning break and then hear the last intervener for the day. So why don't we break till 10:20. Jusqu'à 10h20, s'il vous plaît.
On behalf of the Cree Nation and the ECN, thank you for having us appear before you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.